We might not also forget animal care services is very huge, as we want to empower that office as we move forward, because they actually have to house all of the animals, and as we move forward that we have to deal with sheltering in terms of food and all the different circumstances that we have to deal with. But for the circumstances and facts of the case, I'll let Sergeant Neese take over and Detective Carhart, and then you can ask questions in reference to this specific case itself. Sergeant Neese.
Good morning. I'm Sergeant Autumn Neese. I'm with the Special Victims Unit. On May 21st, we became aware of this case and like how bad it was really going to be. The family had previous involvement with law enforcement as well as significant involvement with animal care services over the last couple years. However, on May 21st, Detective Carhart was contacted and given information and videos that there were possibly 50 pit bulls within the residence and on the property, and that they were all in various states of neglect and starvation. Through the course of his investigation, he went out to the house and made contact with the residences, but they would not allow him to enter the property. They said that they had gotten rid of most of the animals and that there were only 6 left, but they wouldn't allow him to check. Based on that and information that he had that there was an elderly female inside that was also not being cared for, he was able to get a search warrant for the residence. And on Tuesday, June 20th, we did execute that search warrant and made contact with 3 individuals at the residence. The 2 brothers, Mike Lopez and John Lopez, were arrested, and their mother was severely neglected. She had significantly matted hair and was unmedicated for diabetes and dementia, and she received medical care. We know through working all of these investigations that there's such a correlation, and one of the things that we're starting to see is that animal cruelty, although a crime in and of itself, is more of a precursor crime. And when people are harming animals, they are more likely to harm humans, and the most at risk are the elderly and children. And we know that as we get this task force back up and running, that we're going to come upon more significant crimes like elder abuse and child abuse. Detective Carhart, do you have anything to add?
It was pretty clear through the investigation that both of the brothers in the home were intentionally allowing these conditions to persist. They'd been offered services, guidance, and help in the past with their previous contact through law enforcement and animal care services. And by allowing those conditions to persist, they were intentionally keeping it like that and intentionally neglecting both their mother and the animals in the home.
I would also make it clear, and we'll have animal care services speak to make sure if you have any questions in reference to how we shelter animals, what their role is. That's very important for the work that they do. I want to make sure that we emphasize the work they do every day and what they see every day along with their deputies is very prevalent, and we haven't even really been proactive with this. This is a call for service and some other issues that our field deputies and animal care services have seen. So I'd like them to speak on the role that they'll play in Animal Cruelty Task Force and other questions you might have for them.
My name is Megan Rose. I'm an officer for Animal Care Services. We currently are housing the majority of the dogs through several different facilities. We are working with an organization called Best Friends that is helping to house a large portion of them. And currently everybody's receiving the care that they need and continuing to, evaluate everybody and see what the next steps are going to be with the dogs. If there's any questions.
Any questions?
Particularly for you guys, is this one of the worst scenes you guys ever contacted with, or
Yes, sir.
can you kind of go into detail? I know you can't go into full detail, but kind of what you saw on the scene.
The home was in pretty poor condition with the amount of animals that were inside doing damage to furniture, walls, flooring, heavily soiled feces, urine. That was about the basics of the condition of that. But the animals were also pretty much just doing what they could to survive. They're eating their own feces. There was not food found anywhere on the property at all. With 55 animals, that's quite a few.
What's your next steps for these
Right now, medical care is the primary concern, and really, full and complete evaluations of everybody, which initially started the second that they were removed, lining up, what each individual animal needs, and going from there. As those steps are done and everybody can be cleared and placed for adoption and moved through rescue, they'll be made available. Yes.
With overcrowded shelters right now, was it a challenge to find a place for these 55 dogs, especially since they don't need just, a warm bed and, food, they do need serious medical attention?
Absolutely. We are over capacity at the shelter pretty much every day, just as most shelters are. So this definitely took a lot of kind of forces joining in together to facilitate placement for them right away. We have a couple different facilities that are really great and stepped up immediately to help.
And I also have just one more question. Knowing that this is, sickening as it is a growing issue in our community, if deputies were to make another discovery like this sometime soon, what would the plan of action be, knowing that shelters are so overcrowded right now, and there might not be a place for animals that need help to go?
In dealing with any type of case like that, there has to be planning that goes on beforehand to make arrangements like that. We have different resources and places that we can utilize to help. So any type of large scale situation like this, it just will require a plan right off the bat.
I'll have to make you repeat yourself. Can you just go over the criminal aspect of what they're facing for these criminal acts?
I'll pass it.
Sure. So both John Lopez and Michael Lopez were booked for, at the moment, 1 count of extreme animal cruelty, as well as neglect of a resident for neglecting the care of their mother. As we've received more information, because the animals are still being evaluated medically, they may be charged for each individual animal, so they could be facing up to 55 counts of felony animal cruelty.
Do we know the current condition of the elderly woman?
It's still under investigation, so there's a lot of information still coming in at this moment. I can't speak to that at this time.
Read in the criminal complaint that one of the brothers had power of attorney over the mother. How does that work when removing her from a situation like this?
So it can be pretty complicated. At this moment, he has told us he has power of attorney, but we haven't been able to verify that through any kind of documentation.
Is this a repeat offense?
Not that I'm aware of.
And are the brothers still in custody?
As far as I know, yes.
Since they were all peoples, right? They were all peoples.
Yes, sir.
Is there like an idea of what they were trying to do with them? Like on the idea they were only like people.
Right now, there's no indication that there's any kind of staged dogfighting. A number of the animals did have injuries consistent with dogs fighting each other, but in this case, it's most likely that it was over competition for limited resources, as Officer Rose said. There was no food, no fresh food located whatsoever on the property for the dogs, so they are competing and fighting with each other over those limited resources, causing injuries to each other.
I know you might kind of speak to the residency of that place. Was it owned? Was it rented? And what's going to happen now with that place?
So again, as part of the comprehensive approach to this case, we've worked with we have had a lot of support from our partner agencies, including Animal Care Services. Zoning also responded, and they have condemned the property.
If there's any questions, also later we'll be putting out some information on social media in conjunction with animal care. I know a lot of people have been calling asking how they can give food care for animals. We'll be giving that information out later. We're very concerned right now about the medical condition of these animals and also the elderly female that was found in the residence. So please bear with us as information comes out on this case, and we provide where you can appropriate resources if you're willing and do so. Thank you so much.